Season 3 of the Sporting Chance podcast is brought to you by MountainStateFalconrySupply.com. Check out Mountain State Falconry Supply for all of your micro and East Coast falconry needs.
This podcast is also brought to you by Midnight Falconry Supply. Visit him at midnightfalconry.com for your tightest braided equipment.
And also, NorthMountainGoshawks.com. Contact Seth Roy to reserve next season's hunting partner. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Sporting Chance podcast. Today we are joined by two guests. Once again, we have Aaron Futrell and Steven Ziegler. They are the owners of, is it DeLong? Is that how you say it?
Yes.
DeLong Lure Company. Is that right? Or did I just butcher that?
Yeah, DeLong Lures. It's the guy who invented the rubber worm back in the 1940s. We bought his company and about 5 years ago. And so now we make rubber worms for a living. So we cook worms. That's what I
had
tell
no
people.
idea. I had no idea that it's the company of the guy that created the rubber worm. But you guys also, and you might be more well known for your pages on social media at this point.
Very much so. We have Rack Junkies is the one that I run. Rack Junkies in the hunting news, and then Aaron runs the Sportsman Party and does a lot more with the DeLong Lures Facebook page as well. And they're getting hundreds of millions of views a month. They've really blown up this year, so a lot of people know us from that now.
And you know what attracted me to that? Well, first of all, those are pages. Whenever I look at them, it's like, 50 of my friends follow those pages. And then the types of things you guys post are things that are of interest to me personally. Like, I see stuff about trapping. I see things about predator hunting. I see things about big game hunting. It's not just like your traditional white-tailed deer and turkey hunting, like, the mainstream American hunting. So you're covering a lot with your pages, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Yeah. I really enjoy it because we can write about whatever we want, and it's really taken off that we kind of cover a lot of different things, from polar bear hunting, and I might be going to the Arctic Circle here in about a month with a guy, all the way to whitetail hunting or small game hunting or catching bluegill. I mean, it's whatever we want it to be, and everything hunting related, which is why I was actually excited when you messaged me about coming on this podcast, because I don't know much about falconry, but I've watched a ton of videos, especially from your co-host, Casey. I've been friends with him for years, and I watch all of his videos when he posts them on Facebook. I've shown them to my kids. I really like his content. So, I mean, I was excited when I saw that.
Well, he will be joining us here shortly. So you guys out there who don't like Casey, you'll enjoy the first part of this podcast. And for you Casey fans, he's going to be joining us. So have no fear. All right. So I'm just going to get right into it with the rubber worms. That's a trip to me. So you guys bought the company of the guy who created rubber fishing lure worms.
Yes, that's what we did. So basically, Aaron's brother, we're not business partners with him anymore, but he called me up one day and just goes, "Hey, you want to buy a fishing lure company?" And I was like, well, of course not. Like, what are we talking? Like, no, absolutely not. And then he calls me the next day, kind of tells me the story. He's like, "This is the stuff that we used in high school. Remember those worms and those twin tails? We always caught all those bass on when we were kids." And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "It's that business." And I was still like, no, like I've got a good job. We have the social media thing as a hobby. Why would I do that? And then, one thing kind of led to another. And when I found out the history of the company and what it was, I called up Aaron. I said, "We might want to be doing this." And I think, Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong here, were you deployed when that first was happening? This was right after.
No, it was right when I came back after I got injured in Iraq. And I knew I was going to be medically retired from the Army. I was kind of looking for something. And I'm like, we might want to check this out because I'm going to have to find a new job. So I was kind of thinking this might be something. So let's kind of check it out. So I was definitely open to something new. So we were kind of, when we're hearing about it, like, hey, this might be an option. So we decided take a trip out to Indiana and go meet the old owner. especially when keep hearing more and more good things about this company. So we decided to take a trip out. And then the first trip we went out there, we're just like floored by everything that we saw about it. Like we saw all the molds, all the old baits, and everything that we used to fish with. And we're like, oh, this might be a good deal. And then on the drive back, all three of us were just talking. It's like, oh, this is an option. Might be a good idea. This might be better than what we thought. And then over the next like week or so, we started putting a plan together. It's like, okay, we already have these social media pages that were still big, and we could press sales, start pushing sales through these pages. We could make this happen. And so we decided to go for it. You know, Steven didn't like his job in the factory. I didn't like almost dying. So we decided to, go for it. And one thing led to another. We started putting a plan together. And within like probably 2 to 3 months of us finding this idea, we decided to buy a fishing lure company and go from just guys goofing off on the internet to being business owners.
So were you guys big fishermen before you bought the company?
We weren't big fishermen. We were like casual fishermen. It's like we were big hunters. Like we hunted a lot. Like, and then in the summer, because you can't hunt, you go fishing because it's fun. We were like, you're a recreational fisherman. So like I always loved bass fishing. I loved cat fishing, going out to the river, I'd catch pike and just have a lot of fun. It was like, it was a hobby, but I wasn't hardcore. And then you're like, oh, I'm going to do this for a living now. And it just kind of, I had to become more of a hardcore fisherman because I had to like understand fishing lures. I had to understand what colors meant what, where to fish colors, where, I had to be able to explain the baits that I bought and the baits that I'm going to sell. So I had to learn a whole lot more about the company that I bought. Like we have a whole muskie line, and I never caught a muskie before. So I'm going to try and convince people to buy muskie lures that I make, but I've never caught a muskie with them. I've caught a muskie now, but I'm making and selling muskie baits, and I've never caught a muskie. But then again, like Steven likes to say, Babe Ruth didn't make his own bat, so
yeah.
There's guys that make bats that never hit a home run, so
Yeah, it was kind of fun and interesting because now I can tell my wife, like, yeah, I've got to work. I got to go hunting and fishing. And it's a legitimate excuse.
That would be a very convenient excuse for many of us to have. So is it all still made in America? I'm assuming it was made there in Indiana.
Mostly.
Yeah.
So we make as much as we can here. It's very difficult to make everything. Like we have a weedless hook. You can't make that weedless hook here. It's regulations, all that. I've looked into it extensively to try to find a way to move manufacturing of weedless hooks here. But our baits, like all these rubber worms, all those musky baits, everything, they're all hand poured here in America. So, I mean, it's like I said, we try to do as much as we can, but there's the line that connects some of these pre-rigged lures. They just don't make that stuff here. Until we get bigger, we can't move all of that stuff here. But over time, we try because this is an American company. It's a really cool company that started here, 80 years ago now. And we want to keep it that way. Even though most fishing lures are made overseas, we still hand pour them here. So as much as we can.
Like our plastic is made, 30 minutes down the road from us. They mix all the plastic. The line, our rigs are tied by his sister and a couple other people. And then we have employees at our shop that are putting the plastic in the molds and baking it. So it's about as made in America as you can get for a lure right now.
So it's like the creepy crawler machines.
It's exactly what it is. It's like creepy crawlers for adults. And that's what we tell people. It's like, and that's how when people ask how it's made, it's like, yeah, you remember creepy crawlers as a kid? That's exactly it. Except we use a big oven instead of that little oven with a light bulb.
How big is the oven?
It's a regular like oven in your kitchen.
Oh, okay. Is it just one oven?
Yeah, we just run it at a high temp, and we have big aluminum molds and just put it in the oven and cook them.
Is it the same factory that's always been doing it? Do you guys have that, or did you move production?
We picked up everything everything was stored in like 3 outbuildings in this guy's house. Mm-hmm. And we packed up everything in like 3 pickup trucks and a U-Haul. and moved it from Valparaiso, Indiana, back to Akron, Ohio. It's a small town outside of Akron, Canal Fulton. We had my dad's pickup truck loaded with aluminum molds. This thing was like pushed down to the wheel wells. I got a picture of it somewhere of probably a ton of aluminum in the back of his pickup truck.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I'm sure some of those molds are like the retro original.
Oh, yeah.
We have the original prototype. I have the original prototype rubber worm mold at my shop up in my office. And we have catalogs for every decade going all the way back to the 50s. We have samples of stuff. I mean, we have so much cool fishing historical stuff at our shop. It's awesome. And we're actually hopefully here soon going to set up a little almost not museum, but like a little corner that kind of has a lot of the history of the rubber worm there at our shop.
Yeah, a little showcase thing. It's cool. We have. It's like I have a history degree, and like going through all the stuff. I was like kind of geeking out a little bit, going like, "This is so cool!" Looking at stuff from like the 40s and 50s, just opening up boxes and seeing all this old stuff, and you're just like, "Oh, this is awesome."
That's what I love about the Midwest. Having lived there when I was a kid for a few years, and then visiting here and there. Recently, we were there in. I can't even think of the name of the town. We did a field meet there in Ohio. It was kind of southern Ohio. Millersport, I think is the name.
Yeah, I'm not familiar down with that.
Yeah, but we did a field meet there, and we did it at this old defunct hunting lodge that had a bunch of old taxidermy in it. And it's just like the Midwest is so retro and old in a good way, in my opinion. It's not like here in the South where quite literally, as a history person, the South was burned by General Sherman.
Oh, yeah.
So
he was from Ohio.
Yeah, that's right. Because my friend who hosted us there, Rick, he was telling me that. And so General Sherman's march burned a lot of the South. And then a lot of people have moved to the South ever since the advent of air conditioning. That's when like the population boomed in the South. And everything down here is pretty new.
Yeah, everything got updated. Part.
Yeah, everything is pretty new down here. You don't see a lot of old stuff. And when I say old stuff, I mean even like 50s and stuff like that. You don't really see that. So I love that about the Midwest. I could just imagine what that place was like when you guys walked in and saw all the retro fishing gear.
Oh, yeah. And we had a lot of stuff. He just gave us boxes, and every box was like Christmas when you're opening it up, looking at just old stuff. I'm finding he had like all the old catalogs. You're just looking through it and like just old magazines that they had ads in from like the 70s and the 80s, and some of those like the ads that used to run back then, like cigarettes and like bourbon and all that old stuff. You're like, wow, they used to get away with that stuff back then. None of this stuff would fly.
Dude, I love looking at old hunting magazines, and you see.
Those are great.
Yeah,
we use that on social media sometimes, just taking pictures of it and it's like just posting those.
Yeah. I've got one. There's an ad in the back for you can order rabbits from Kansas, and it's like jackrabbits are $5 each, live jackrabbits, and then cottontails are like $2 each. I wish we could still do that. That would be cool. So, all right, you guys said yourselves you're fishermen, but you weren't like hardcore, live and breathe and die fish. You did a lot of other stuff. And you shared with us, Stephen, you have a background in manufacturing, and Aaron, you're a Iraq war veteran. What types of sport, as in hunting, did you guys do, or you do today?
Yeah, so now we're getting a lot of crazy opportunities. These pages have gotten so big, we get invited on hunts all the time now. Like I said, I have the opportunity to go to the Arctic Circle. I have a friend up there who's an Inuit. He literally hunts out of igloos. Like it's insane to me. So there's a lot of cool things we're going to do now. But growing up, this whole big platform that gets all these views now started with us just trying to be famous rabbit hunting YouTubers. And we made these like rabbit hunting videos. I worked 12-hour shifts for 2 weeks to buy this like super nice camera. And we would walk around rabbit hunting. And I mean, we were like 25, 26. That's when I started.
I was
Aaron's
30.
Aaron's a few years older than me. And we would go around like bush by bush and like have this camera out and like try to get these great action shots of rabbit. And from there, what happened is I actually, since I had the camera, I went out hunting with my grandma, and she, at 80 years old, she shoots a deer and we post it, goes viral. She shoots it with a crossbow. And, at the end of the video, I'm actually like recording her walk up to the deer. And then she just pulls out her knife and starts gutting it out, 80 years old. And it's like the coolest video. It was like the funnest hunt. And, Ted Nugent shared it, which I was always a big Ted Nugent fan because of his music, because of his, he's got that like, that attitude of, he's going to say whatever he thinks, and he's going to
Michigan's
advocate.
Midwest, right? He's a Midwest guy. When I was a kid, my dad met him, and we had a magazine signed by him.
Yeah, he called me the other day, actually, just a couple weeks ago. I've been doing a lot of writing about CWD, which is really what I've been known for lately. And he's big into that too. So he gave me a call and texted me now and like sending me articles, things like that. It's really, really cool. To kind of meet and talk with somebody that you watched growing up it's like I said, these opportunities we're having now are crazy. But we started out rabbit hunting, squirrel hunting, deer hunting was like in our family, like getting your first deer is a huge deal in our family. Like everybody's going to talk about it. You're going to tell your story at Christmas. Everybody in our whole family, there was 4 generations of women hunters in our family. So it's not just the men. It's a whole family activity up here.
That's a whole other set of tags you can fill.
Right. Yeah. I went hunting. My daughter shot a nice 10-point this year, and I got a viral video of her. She's curling her eyelashes, doing her makeup in the tree stand after she shoots it, because she's getting ready for pictures. And so it's a family thing. So we were hardcore with deer, rabbits, all small game. And, I shot some bears in high school.
This squirrel up here behind me is my first squirrel that I killed when I was 5. So that squirrel was
eyeing that squirrel up. I was waiting.
Yeah, that squirrel's 39 years old.
About it. It's a little, because it's on we're on a webcam. It's a little out of focus, but is that a Midwestern fox squirrel? Yeah.
No, it's a Eastern fox squirrel.
Okay. That's, yeah.
Yeah, I shot that. Shot that in Ohio 39 years ago.
Cool, man.
So that's older than Steven.
So you guys were small game hunters.
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool. So when you were rabbit hunting, were you using beagles and shotguns?
No, I just always called my little brother. We said, look, man, you're the bitch. Hop in the bush, and we'll shoot it when it runs out the other side. And we'd all jump in bushes. We'd just bushwhack rabbits. We'd travel public land all over the state. Once we got our licenses, it wasn't just like my parents' property or anything. It was like traveling around. We'd find little pockets of public land and go rabbit hunting from once deer season was over, January through February. We were rabbit hunting every weekend. I worked nights back then. So a lot of times we just, if Aaron had off because of his schedule, we would, 3 or 4 of us would go rabbit hunting on public land during the week. And we rabbit hunted so much when we were younger. It's harder to rabbit hunt now, but when you have kids and everything. But we loved small game hunting once deer season was over.
Did you keep track of your tallies for years of what you would shoot?
We did for a while with with rabbits. We tried to one season, and we shot over 100 rabbits one year on almost all on public land. My mom's property was the one spot that wasn't public land, but we'd shoot 100 rabbits a year. We'd cook them up. I'd take them to my grandma, and I'd skin them and give them to her, and she'd make me rabbit. So that was like one of my best memories.
One of the good things about falconry is that we can hunt small game in places that you're not allowed to fire a firearm, to discharge a firearm. So in town, a little like an HOA, like briar patch, that runs, in no man's land behind a neighborhood. We can sneak in there with a hawk and fly a hawk and catch rabbits in places you couldn't go back there with a shotgun shoot it, So
yeah, watching those videos is so cool. I've never got to do it, but one day I want to actually go and just watch them, because I've seen those videos that Casey posts on Facebook, and I love watching, because it's high speed and it's obviously hard to get that on camera. But man, I'm blown away by how you guys do that stuff. I love it.
Well, you guys are welcome to join us, and we may be in Ohio this coming year. We're planning on making it an annual thing.
Let me know. I will be there. I promise.
Definitely.
When we went up to Ohio this past year, I caught multiple fox squirrels. Caught multiple black gray squirrels. I think I got a rabbit. Maybe I didn't, but and then normal standard gray squirrels. So you guys have got a lot of small game up there.
Yeah, we definitely have the place if you want to hunt black squirrels.
Oh, you've got a black squirrel spot?
Oh yeah, my parents' house. They have tons of. We had a guy from Massachusetts call us and say he wanted a black squirrel to complete his his squirrel slam or something, because
I'm working on that too.
Because he wanted to get a whole like for a mount, and he needed a black squirrel, and he didn't. They're rare ever in Massachusetts, and he was like driving through Ohio in Thanksgiving on his way to, and he saw that we had one posted because my dad shot one, and I had a picture of it posted for Father's Day or something. He's like, "Do you have black squirrels? Will you come? I will pay you to come shoot one." I'm like, "You don't have to pay us. Yeah, come shoot one." So some random guy came out to my parents' house that we met, and he came and shot 2 black squirrels.
Let me be clear. We've done some really dumb things like that. Like this random guy from the internet. It's like, "Hey, can I go hunting with you?" And we're like, "Sure, show on up."
Can I come visit you with my gun?
Yeah, exactly. Like, how dumb was it? We were so young and stupid. I went python hunting in the Everglades. This was, I did just some guy wrote an article on, and then I met up with him, and I got in his truck, and we drove miles into the middle of the Everglades to go hunt pythons. And the only place I knew him from was the internet. And I mean, that was really, I was like 30, like I knew better. Like, it was awesome. It was fun. I was lucky he was cool, but I've done some stupid things in my life.
Were you guys successful?
Yeah. We got one. We should have had another one, but there was an alligator there that he didn't see, and it freaked us all out. And then we couldn't find the snake after that. That was one of the most terrifying things I've done. Just when you see an alligator up close, they're everywhere in the Everglades. He literally, like, we were walking. This is super interesting. He goes, I see these like party balloons. They're all through the Everglades. They're just trash everywhere. And I'm like, he was picking them up with his fishing rod. He'd reach into the marsh and pull them out and, throw away the trash. And I was like, "Hey, why is there so many here?" And we walked down into the marsh, and he goes, "Yeah, all the weather patterns in the South kind of just all blow these party balloons into one spot. They fall down here. That's why they're here." And we're standing like chest high in the marsh, and with this guy I don't know in the middle of the Everglades. And I go, "Hey man, how do I know, like, we're in the Everglades, how do I know there's no alligators here?" And he goes, What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Well, we're standing, chest deep in this marsh right here trying to get this balloon. How do I know there's no alligators here?" And he goes, "Look to your right." He's like, "You see that little mud slide right there?" He's like, "Before we walked up, an alligator went down there." He's like, "You're in the Everglades, dude. There's alligators everywhere." And I go, "Dude, how do I know this thing's not, like, well, how do we know we're not going to get eaten?" He's like, they generally they leave you alone." And I was just like, "Oh no, what am I doing?" Like, I'm those redneck Everglades dudes they're a different breed, man.
Florida man.
Yeah, you spend enough time around alligators and they get a little less threatening.
But when you're from Ohio, they don't.
Yeah.
That's why we live in the cold weather. We don't have alligators.
Yeah. Now, crocodile. Well, they have crocodiles down there, but they're actually not dangerous either.
Yeah.
They're all dangerous, but they're not.
But
it's like seeing a black bear. The black bear's probably not going to try and kill you, but it could, and it does happen on occasion. But but the of course, Nile crocodiles and saltwater crocodiles, they actively try and kill people.
Yep. We've written on all of those things, which is crazy how much we've written.
I would love to hear more about that. Yeah. So let's get into that. So, like I'd said earlier, I opened this podcast with you guys post a lot of interesting stuff. To me, I'm sorry, hunting American deer and elk and turkey, while that stuff's cool and I will do that, it doesn't really captivate me like the other stuff does. So really, like, what tipped me over into wanting to invite you guys on, and Casey's big on it, and I hate he's going to miss this, is the feral cats trap spay release, or trap neuter release. Isn't that what they call it? TNR.
Yeah, TNR.
You guys make a lot of posts about that, from what I can tell. It seems like just a quick scan through both your pages, and you'll see multiple stories about it.
Yeah, we know it's kind of random that we both did it at the same time, because typically we don't write about the same thing, and we just randomly did it at the same time. And Aaron did a whole series, so I'll let him take more of that. But it all kind of started with like we wrote about this back in 2018 probably. There was an article in an Australian magazine, and it was a guy wearing a cat skin hat, and he had a cat skin koozie, all this like crazy things, and it went viral when we wrote it. It was super interesting, and I that's when we kind of looked into it at first and realized like there's some really uncomfortable truths here, but that doesn't mean that they're not true. And when you look at just the total biomass that cats destroy every year, it's like if you filled up 24 foot 4 foot or 4 foot deep, 24 foot around swimming pools, it's like 35,000 swimming pools full of birds that these cats eat every year. It's a massive amount. I think because it's hard to estimate it. It's like 2 to 6 billion birds per year. It's like more than that of just small rodents. And these are mostly just feral cats running around the United States. And it's crazy how much damage they do. And it gets real weird because people look at that and go, wait, that looks like my cat. You can't be, what do you like? We're not advocating. Let me be clear. We're not advocating shooting people's pets. I'm not saying that, but like the feral cat thing is a real problem, whether people want to face that problem or not.
I'll tell you, sorry, Aaron, I want to say 2 things about the feral cats 3 things. I own cats. I'm looking, there's one on my bed right now, but they're strictly indoors. They make wonderful pets inside your house. But having said that, the laziest, most pathetic house cat is still fully capable of being a serious predator outdoors. So we had a cat that when me and my wife moved in together, she was always a cat person. I surprised her with a cat. I went on Craigslist and I found some people who needed to get rid of a cat, and she was declawed already. I'm not in favor of declawing cats because it's basically cutting off their knuckles, cutting off their fingertips. So it'd be akin to like snipping off the tips of your fingers. It's not just pulling the nail out. But it was already done. The damage was done. So I was like, oh, that's awfully convenient. We had this cat, and then she was a very fat cat, and we had a backyard fenced in with a privacy fence. So she was not agile at all. She could not get over this fence. I thought, all right, I'll let her out on the patio, and she's not going to be able to get out of the yard, and she's not going to be able to kill anything because she has no claws. Dude, I go out there, and she caught a good sized rabbit. Like not quite like, not like a helpless baby. She had caught a rabbit that was fully mobile in the backyard with no front claws and being a fat, obese cat, right? So even that cat was capable of catching a rabbit. And then the other cat story, and I want you guys to take it from here, is now I have she's a healthy tabby cat. She's a big cat. She has her claws. She slipped out of the back door one day, and within 10 minutes, she has a chipmunk. And I'd never even seen chipmunks ever once in my yard. So she gets outside for 10 minutes and finds a wild animal that I didn't even know we had and killed it. So I am very anti-outdoor cat. I'm very anti-feral cat. The trap neuter release, it's well known for anyone who listens to this podcast. We are anti-outdoor cat. I really think that America needs to move forward with a policy like Australia has or New Zealand has, to where feral cats that are not owned by people need to be euthanized humanely. And it should be illegal to let your cat outside. Because we don't tolerate dogs running around anymore. People would freak out.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. Like you can't just let your dog run around. No. That's a good point. I never even thought about it that way.
I work at a college campus and I saw a cat walking around and I said, what's up with that? And they said, oh, it's the maintenance guy who actually lives next door to the college. And I said, imagine if that was his dog, we'd be flipping right now.
Mm-hmm. So. We have 2 cats. They're inside and they've killed a couple mice on the inside of the house, which is great. That's what they're here for.
That's good. Yeah. If they're killing
that's a good thing.
Pests inside the house. That's
inside the house.
Yeah, and that's a good job for them to have.
Good job for them to have. And they catch flies. They're lazy. They lay around the house. I give them food. and they still will find stuff to kill inside the house.
Mm-hmm.
But outside the house, they definitely would be killing things. And yeah, like what Stephen said opening this little segment is how many birds, mammals, small lizards that feral cats kill. And it seems like at least once a year, I'll do a little segment on feral cats and how many mammals and birds and stuff that they do kill. And it definitely did start from that article we wrote about this guy from Australia. It was on, I think it was Christmas Island, and how many cats that he has put down. It's in the thousands that off this one island, and trying to make a dent in that population because of I can't remember how many bird species have become extinct in Australia because of feral cats. Mm-hmm. It's like over there, it's a huge problem because they have a ton more ground nesting birds than we do. So because they have those small islands have no predators whatsoever. So they've developed with no natural protections. So they just sit there. They're flightless birds, and they're just like easy pickings for cats. So I think there's hundreds of species of birds that are now extinct because the feral cats got introduced back by the English off the ships back in the probably the late 17 to 1800s. So that's when they were first introduced because the cats had jobs on ships to keep the rats and the mice down. And then they've gotten off the ships onto all these small islands during the trading routes through like going to Australia and New Zealand and the Spice Islands and all that. So cats would get off the ships and they'd have little breeding colonies on these islands, and then they decimate all the bird populations. So now there's people on these islands that are trying to clean up the problems that have been right now going on 200 to 300 years on these islands. So, you can bring back Australia's kind of got the program right where they're like, they don't mess around with feral cats. Like, yeah, like you said, it's illegal to let your cat outside. They're doing their best, even though there's some of the animal rights activists that don't like the program. But here, oh man.
Oh yeah. People get very emotional about their cats here.
Yeah. And it's like, I understand but it's not your cat. It's, I get like every time I put out a post, half the time I do it because I know I'm going to make, I'm going to get a whole lot of engagement on the post because there's going to be so many people that are going to agree with me and so many people that are going to disagree with me. And there's going to be so much talking about it. And it's like, yeah, I'm going to, so I do a series at least probably twice a year on feral cats because part of it is like, I want people.
We need to spread awareness about that.
Yeah,
so
part of it's like I want to spread awareness along with, the best way is just to be straightforward with it. I'm like, hey, this is what it is. It's like, this is what the cats are doing.
Not only that, but toxoplasmosis, that's a real thing.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to that. So I might bring that up tomorrow because I do one post on it today.
Well,
today
I know a North Carolina biologist that got toxoplasmosis in his eyeball from a feral cat outdoors. Somehow he got it in his eyeball and nearly went blind because of that.
Wow.
Yeah. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.
Yeah. Aaron, did you want to talk about the trap neuter release? Because I know you were the one doing because I started doing stuff, but then you kind of took that one over.
Yeah, I do want to. Oh, you're saying Aaron. There's two Aarons here. So that's so I want to say something about that to lead into that. I had a video. My personal social media, I don't have a huge following like Casey. I posted a picture of a crushed cat colony house. When they'll take a Rubbermaid house and they'll put styrofoam and hay in it with a hole. And I just took a picture of a crushed Rubbermaid container that was sat out for feral cats. And I just put the caption that I found a feral cat house today. That's it.
I can already know how that's going to go.
Yeah. I had to unfriend people over that post. And someone was like, you need to be careful, bro. That's like destroying property. And I was like, I never said I did anything. All I did was take a picture of a destroyed feral cat house and said, I found a feral cat house. Yeah. And right now, I'm not saying that I destroyed it. I'm just saying I took a picture of one.
I found it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's all I'm telling. So yeah, go ahead. Let's hear more about that, because I know it's a failure, but I don't know much about it. So I'd love to hear more.
So trap, neuter, release, or trap, neuter. There's another. I was always calling it trap, neuter, release, but I saw that other people are calling it trap, neuter, replace or something. And it's like they will trap them, neuter them, and then putting back where they found them, saying that so they won't have kittens in the community. Won't. So, and they're what they were calling. I found out they call them community cats, which is terrible. Trying to make them the cat's everybody's pet, because that's what I was.
Well, they're everybody's problem.
Yeah, right. That's what it really is.
That's a better way of putting it.
That's a better way of putting it. I guess the theory is so that they won't grow. But if you look at the studies from, like, they did studies in Israel and in Spain, that it's not reducing cat populations, that they continue to grow or at least maintain, and they continue to decimate wildlife populations. And the only times that the cat populations are being reduced is if they are being removed from the population, either through adoption or through humane euthanization. So that's the only time that those populations are being reduced. So there's been no times that trap, neuter, release has been shown to reduce cat populations, which what needs to happen to reduce the damage they cause to wild.
So the evidence is there. It does not reduce.
I have not seen any. I've not seen any study that shows that trap, neuter, release works in reducing feral cat populations.
Well, I'm a believer that we should do things that work, right? Even if you don't like the idea of it, if the evidence is there that it works.
The only thing I did run across a little bit that might work, but only in rural situations because of the uptick in coyote populations. And that's only but they're also being removed because they're being eaten by coyotes. So
it's way worse than like you said, humane euthanization. A coyote eating it alive is way worse.
But they are being removed from the population that way, but it's not, I don't think that's humane. If you know what I mean. It's like trap, neuter, release is kind of just like an expensive coyote feeding program. Is kind of what it's being turned into, especially in like a lot of the urban settings. It's not, because coyotes aren't they are adapting to the urban environment, but not as much as like in the main cities, like downtown settings. Cats have adapted very well, where coyotes are still only kind of adapting. But when you get into the suburbs and rural settings, they're seeing like a downtick in feral cats. Like, I remember growing up on a farm, they used to dump cats all the time out in farm country. Now you're not seeing as many, and I still think people are dumping them. It's just they're not lasting very long out there, because you're seeing a lot more coyotes and bobcats and predators, because we have a more robust predator population now. So that might be one advantage of a robust predator population that we have now compared to back in the 80s and 90s. So, and also we've got more birds of prey now than we did before. So I think that's one thing that's helping is conservation, in the fact that we have more predators now, but that doesn't help the urban areas, because there's not as many predators in the urban areas. And, those small mice and rats and lizards and whatever that still thrive in the urban environments are still getting decimated by the cats in those. So it's still an ongoing problem, but I don't think it's as bad in the rural areas as it used to be. I want to
add one little thing in here. So we have one thing I want to add is that when we're doing our writing, we sit around and when we're at our shop, we read a lot of research. So we go into the scientific literature and read that. That's where a lot of our ideas come from. So when we're writing about this stuff, it's not just some, redneck kid with an iPhone out here that doesn't like cats. Like we're reading what the research shows. And that's, I think, what's made us popular, especially as of the last year or two, really kind of blown up. I think that's part of it, is that we're taking the time to take complex issues and uncomfortable issues and unpack, whether it's I did a whole thing on polar bears, on coy dogs, on wolves, and cats, all of these issues. We take these complex issues. I told you before this, I did some stuff, a lot of CWD writing, and those are complex issues. The average guy doesn't have time to read those studies. We do, and we try to break them down into 1 or 2 paragraphs at a time. So if any of your listeners are following us, you're going to see we're going to keep it simple. We're going to do a series on it, and you can just get this in bite-sized chunks. And our information isn't just random dudes making stuff up. It's based on most of it's based on research. And if it's not, you'll see that it's our opinion. We make that pretty clear normally.
Well, you guys, I think you guys, this is where I read was feel good legislation. One of you referenced that. And a lot of this stuff, we had a recent guest, Jeff Hershey, a big friend of the show, big supporter of the show. He's a longtime Falconer. He has said it best about he moved out of Seattle because he was tired of the politics there. Mm-hmm. He described it so well, and I'm not going to be able to say exactly what he said just because I don't remember it. But he essentially said well-meaning things. These are well-meaning people that are instituting things that are in the big picture harmful as far as he was concerned. And that's what feel good legislation, it's well-meaning. It's yeah, of course you're a sicko if you want to torture cats, or if you that's, we're not going to argue that, but it's that type of legislation that oftentimes is anti-hunting or really anti-environment. It's before I was a well-informed hunter, if you were to ask me what I thought about logging the national forest in the mountains here, which is nothing but big, old, giant trees, I would have said, yeah, that sounds horrible. I'm absolutely opposed to that. When the reality is it needs it badly, because it's like a desert up there. There's no wildlife in those mountains because it needs some new growth. And that's what things like grouse and woodcock need to survive is new growth. And that's
absolutely, grouse is a big problem. There's no grouse here in Ohio anymore. One of the things I get commented on the most when people send me messages, because people will send me things to write about. They're like, "Hey, look into this or look into that." I get phone calls, emails, private messages every day. And one of the more popular ones is, where are all the grouse? And where are all, I get that. Probably once a week somebody's sending me a message about it. And I'm working on it, but like you said, a lot of it is producing that new growth. And in the Midwestern states, we're just not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
people are anti-logging.
Yeah. And the way the farm practices have changed over the last 20 years, it's we don't have the ridge rows that we used to have that produced grouse habitat. It's the same thing with pheasant habitat. It's things have changed so much over the last 20 years of how farmers do things because they become more efficient, which is good for, their bottom dollar. But it's not good for it's not good for wildlife, where, just the way that they do things has changed. That, didn't change overnight. It just was a gradual change over 20 years. And all of a sudden it's those rows that were between fields, those don't exist anymore. Where,
hedgerows.
Yeah, hedgerows. That's the word I was trying to look for. Yeah, hedgerows. Those don't exist anymore. You don't see those much. So that's where the grouse, the pheasants, the rabbits, and everything used to hide. And those aren't as plentiful as they used to be, as they were 20 years ago. So
I was talking to a farmer that graciously lets me hunt on his property. And he said when he was a boy, they've lived there so long that their family used to have slaves there. That's how many generations have been there. He said, yeah, when I was a boy, we used to hear quail. There used to be quail up in that corner over there. And he said, it's been 50 years since I've heard a quail. And they farm it. And I didn't want to get into it with him about it or engage him on it. But I just want to say, well, what's different now? And, it's probably the clean farming, as you said.
Yep.
Which we had friend of the show and former guest, Tyler Sladen. You guys might have seen him on social media. He goes by Quail Hawk. He hunts quail in Arizona with a goshawk. He went to Mexico recently, and he was talking about like their quail populations are booming down there because they don't do the efficient agriculture. They don't do the insecticides. They don't do the herbicides. It's probably not because they're intentional about it. It's probably just because they're like old traditional farming without all of that. Because I'm sure there's more money to be made if you can eliminate the hedgerows. I'm sure there's more money to be made if you're using the high end insecticides.
Yeah, and the more efficient combine and the newer harvester, whatever. It just that doesn't spill the grain it's just every little thing that helps the farmer today hurts wildlife just a little bit that was helping them 20 years ago. And I've read studies on that. And, I can't remember which organization did studies on the farming practice today what it was 20 years ago, 30 years, 40 years ago, and how much that's affected the changes in wildlife and wildlife populations. Especially, it's more with birds than anything else. And it's crazy.
Yeah. It would be cool. And I'm sure there probably are programs out there, and I'll probably have people message me. But if there were state governments or if the federal government would encourage farmers to have those hedgerows or those strips that are native grasses or vegetation to encourage wildlife.
Yeah, there probably is with something with the CRP money or something. I don't know enough about that, but
it's hard to keep up with every state and their initiatives.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So,
yeah. We've gotten pretty involved in the political world and the hunting side of things, and it's I put pressure on politicians all the time from both parties. What's good for hunting, what's good for public lands, those sorts of things, and we try to tackle the uncomfortable issues in hunting. I think it's important for everybody to talk about these things. If we want, like a lot of times, like I'll get a criticism every once in a while that's like, oh well, we need to be united, we need to come together. It's like, well, sure, fair enough, but we need to come together around the right things. And if hunters aren't talking and they're not discussing these things, we're not gonna make the right decisions for these. Whether it's grouse or feral cats or whatever, we're not going to make the right decisions moving forward. So that's why we write about a lot of these things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hunters are traditionally conservative. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of hunters were. I'm trying to think of the word for it. I think a lot of hunters were definitely unhappy with the Trump administration and some of the efforts to sell off public land and the initiatives that basically just hurt hunters, just straight up hurt.
Yeah, there's two sides to that. So I did a bunch of articles on this. Trump 1 was great on public lands. Trump 2 was... I mean, it depends if I've talked to people. We had some conversations about what was going on behind the scenes with that big, beautiful bill. People that are in the know and we're in the rooms in those things. They call me because I'm writing about this stuff. And Trump 1, he did some good things. It was the John Dingell Jr. Land, Wildlife Conservation and Restoration Act, which basically put the LWCF funding in place in perpetuity with the Great American Outdoor Act. And essentially his first term was let's drill baby drill and then fund baby fund. Like just put a ton of money into public lands. Nobody funded public lands more than Trump in his first term. And I was really hoping that I would see that in the second term. And then Trump himself never said it, but Mike Lee is all about selling off public lands. And obviously I think that Republicans and Democrats came together to say, listen, in America, we love our public lands. This is an 80-20 issue. And Republicans aren't good on selling public lands. I help Republicans get elected. Actually, because of my social media skills, a lot of different things I do. But I'm going to call out that side when I think that they're wrong, and that I don't like Mike Lee on public lands. Trump never publicly made a statement about. I don't think he made a statement that he wanted to sell them, but he wasn't saying anything, and he was letting it happen, and that's bad enough. But his first term was great with some of the things he did. Second term, I was really hoping to see more of it, but so far we haven't. And hopefully, maybe that turns around after the first 2 years. I hope.
Well, falconers are hoping for some legislation to change with falconry, and RFK Jr. being Health and Human Services Director and raccoon penis enthusiast.
I read about that.
I gave my wife a pair of raccoon penis earrings. Actually, she didn't know what they were. Wore them to church, and I took a picture. Yeah. She wasn't happy when she found out.
When I heard that story, I'm like, all right, like, yeah, I've got a bear baculum on a shelf, and I would absolutely have a raccoon baculum if I happened upon one or had the energy to really go get one. But it's like, good luck explaining that to a normal person. So let's just keep our mouth shut about it. You know?
Can I ask you I want to ask you a question real quick, because with all the writing we do, I'm interested. What, like, from a legislative standpoint, what would falconers want to see over the next couple of years? What would help? Well, I just want you to kind of explain that a little bit to me, so I can possibly write about it here soon.
Sure. Yeah. Let's collaborate more, but just generally while we're here talking about it. So there's something that's probably going to happen right now, and it's the normalization of peregrine falcon take. So falconers in America are allowed to trap wild birds of prey. We're allowed a certain amount per year per falconer. And peregrine falcons have long been, for a long time, they weren't accessible to falconers. And then they became a lottery thing. So in my home state of North Carolina, for instance, we issue the Natural Resources Department, the state, issues 5 permits per year for people to trap peregrine falcons on the coast that are migrating down, for licensed falconers to do it. And it's a lottery system. So you have to enter the lottery, and if your name's drawn, you're allowed to go to the coast during the migration and trap a peregrine falcon for falconry. So there's really no evidence that falconers have any negative impact on the take of peregrine falcons. So there's been an effort just to normalize it to where, for instance, a licensed falconer in nearly every single state, with the exception of Connecticut off the top of my head, can go trap a red-tailed hawk during the months of like August to March. That's generally the trapping season. You can legally go trap a red-tailed hawk for falconry. You don't need prior approval. Your falconry license is enough. They want that for peregrine falcons as well, because we don't feel like peregrine falcons are in need of those additional protections. So that's getting ready to happen, but there's a huge problem with golden eagles. Falconers have more or less lost access to golden eagles for falconry.
Is there a reason for that? Are there population issues, or is that just a political thing?
I really think it's political. Golden eagles have been roped into the Bald Eagle Protection Act, which is now called the Bald and Golden Eagle Protection Act. So we are not allowed to trap them. We're not allowed to breed them in captivity. And the breeding makes zero sense. If you told me, hey, peregrine falcon, or if you said golden eagles are endangered in the wild, we can't afford to lose any of them, so we're not going to allow you to trap them. Okay, sure, that makes sense to me. But hey, can we breed disabled golden eagles who cannot be released back into the wild? No, you're not allowed to do that. So there is
That's crazy. Yeah. That's so crazy.
I hope you guys write about this, because
I will be. Trust me, Aaron. That was mine. I got it.
This is good. The only people in America that are allowed to breed eagles is the Comanche Indian Reservation in Oklahoma. That's it. That is it. No one else can. So we can breed virtually anything else, but we cannot breed golden or bald eagles. We don't want to breed bald eagles. They're not a falconry bird. We just want access to golden eagles.
Yeah, I've seen videos of people using golden eagles. I think it was in Europe or something. They're catching like roe deer or something with them. Yeah. It was a really cool video. Yeah.
And there's some people that have them here as well, but they only issue 6 permits per year, and it's a lottery system, and it's a national lottery, and like over 100 people enter this lottery. And there's so many stipulations to being able to get an eagle, even if you get drawn. So it's a big, big issue, and I would love to talk to you more about it if you want to write about it.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely write about it. That's super interesting.
Yeah, and connect you with other people. But another silly thing is like the importing captive born birds of prey is nearly impossible in America. We cannot, because they're regulated by the Migratory Bird Treaty Act, and I'm far from an expert on this. I could connect you with people who could tell you more about it. In Europe, for instance, and even Mexico and Canada, so, kind of like our sister countries, definitely our neighbors, there's this huge aviculture. I don't even want to call it an industry because it's not big enough to really be an industry. But there's a lot of enthusiasts that breed birds of prey. Let's say England, for instance. You do not need a special license to own a golden eagle in England. Anybody could go buy one if they want. Your grandma could go buy one with no qualifications. And generally, it's not really a problem there. You think like, ooh, that sounds like a nightmare. It's really not a problem there. It's just, it's not legislated. Exactly. Like your African gray. They're treated the exact same way there. You have an African gray parrot. You guys might hear the smoke alarm in the background. That's Aaron's African gray. Oh, look, we got special guest Casey Everett joining. Eating. Luckily, he's got the mic muted. We were just talking about the legislation. They were curious about falconry legislation and what we want to see change. I told them about the golden eagle take. I told them we're getting ready to normalize peregrines, and then I was telling them about captive breeding and the importing of birds. So as it stands, if I wanted to go to England and buy a hunting dog, I could fly over there, buy the dog, get a health certificate from a vet, and fly back home with it. I could do that in a few days. You cannot do that with a migratory bird treaty protected bird there. Even if it's captive born, even if it passes a health check, it's a big, complicated issue that really shouldn't be that complicated.
None of this makes any sense, like legal. And it's not the only thing in the hunting community that doesn't make sense. We have so many regulations that are just incredibly stupid. But I mean, this seems to be one towards the top. If you're worried about not having enough golden eagles and then you can't breed golden eagles, they never cease to amaze me how dumb of rules they can come up to control what we do.
People get very emotional about this stuff, and you'll find that, like we have found, that people are very emotional about these birds, and we lose access to being able to go out and trap birds or to get chicks out of nests when there's really no real scientific basis for us not being able to do it. So we've talked about it at length on this podcast. There are biologists out there that are actively trying to restrict our access to North American goshawks. And our last guest, he lives in the state of Pennsylvania, where they banned the take of goshawks. And he said it best. He said all they did was just stop a couple of old guys from having fun.
That's a great line for an article. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna use that.
Yeah, well, we definitely have got some material for you. And that actually leads me to this. I was going to tell you that I think you guys should profile coursing with dogs and falconry some on your pages.
Oh, I'm going to. I'll do a series on falconry. We'll get millions of views on this because this is fascinating to me, and the rules are so dumb that it'll get a lot of attention. And that's one of the things that I really enjoy about what me and Aaron get to do now is that as it's grown, we can kind of put attention on whether it's the feral cat thing or falconry, or for me right now, it's CWD with deer, or my friend who hunts polar bears, who's an Inuit up in Alaska. And that you can't shoot a polar bear and bring it back to the United States. You're allowed to shoot it. You're not saving anything. You're just not allowed to bring it back, which is so dumb. There's all sorts of stuff like this, and we try to bring as much attention to that stuff as possible. And falconry is going to be next.
Good.
Okay. Well, a couple guys that can help you with that now. Casey,
pretty much
two sentences. How do you feel about feral cats?
I could just sum it up to like one sentence.
All right, one sentence.
I was going to try to sum it down to like 2 words, but I'm tired. I just work. They should all die. How's that? It's ridiculous, man. You can no, not even. That's debatable. They don't even deserve that. The amount of damage those things have done to our ecosystem, they don't even deserve that. My personal opinion, and I've said this many times on this show, is that it should be a felony, minimum 1 year in jail if you're caught letting your cat loose in the neighborhood. I don't care who you are.
Like when they dump feral cats out in the middle of nowhere. We used to have that all the time.
No, not even. Like I had a customer the other day, and she had like 3 or 4 of them that like live on the porch and then run around the neighborhood, and she feeds them, and like that, she should be thrown in jail
after she pays.
She should be imprisoned after she pays her bill, though. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, the whole rules. I'm kind of walking a little late here. I was, working. Someone's got to work around here, and it's crazy because it's like you have invasive feral cats that you can't even discuss. Because I've reached out to Fish and Wildlife agencies to try to get them on the show to talk. And it's hard to do. I'm sure you guys have dealt with that. Like they don't want to talk, and like they have to like follow a bunch of rules and stuff. So I understand. But I made the mistake because they wanted to know, like we got as far as they were like wanting to know what we wanted to discuss. Like that's how back and forth we went. Usually you don't even get a response. And as soon as I mentioned like a list, and then one of them was like feral cats, literally just did not answer me ever again.
Nope. Doesn't surprise me one bit. I deal with that all the time because I've made it very public that I will embarrass these game agencies into coming and talking to me. And because I get so many views that I can do that. And to the point now where I go straight to the state legislatures and, I'm getting state reps, state senators. I mean, I get calls all the time. People wanting to come on my podcast. Like I really don't even really have a podcast. I talk into the mic for a little bit to clarify some of my views. But like they want to come on a podcast. That's why I need to start one because these people are coming on there. And the game agency officials, most of them, not all, there's better states and worse states, but a lot of them are just cowards. They're scared to actually talk about real issues, and it's not helping hunting in any way whatsoever. And I'm getting more and more frustrated with how much they're letting down the hunting community by not talking to hunters, but just talking at us. And that's frustrating to me now.
Yeah. The problem is the whole industry, and this is just a circular conversation on our show, but the whole industry is basically captured, like kind of what's going on in Colorado right now. Aaron, do you know what's going on in Colorado right now, Mr. Smarty Pants?
Like there's always something going on in Colorado.
Yeah. Well, which part in Colorado?
Oh, so there's 2 Aarons. So no, they're doing this whole thing where like the governor installed like all these anti-hunting and fishing like representatives to the Fish and Wildlife Agency, and then they recruited more, and then they recruited more, and then to the point now where like what's that big city there that's obviously probably more like anti-hunting kind of. There's like a huge city, Denver, I guess. Like Denver literally like voted down the bill to like ban the sale of fur.
Oh yeah, I wrote about that. That.
It wasn't even like the outer. It wasn't even like the outer areas. It was Denver, which you would think would be like anti-fur. They were like, "No, we want to wear fur. We're not voting for this. No, we're gonna." And they shot it down. And then the governor was like basically blaming it on the people of her own state. It was ridiculous. The whole thing's a mess. The whole thing's a mess.
Yeah, Colorado banned the sale of fur.
Were they successful in doing that? I thought that it wasn't. That it didn't pass.
I gotta remember. I wrote about this like a month or 2 ago. They voted to ban the. I think it was to ban the sale of fur. I can't remember what it was exactly. I've written so much stuff that it was like they. I can't remember if it was a bill or something that they passed. It was like against the recommendations of all the biologists in the state, like in the state, to like they all say, hey, don't do this, it's bad for wildlife, it's bad for conservation, and they went ahead and passed it anyways against everybody in the wildlife department's like recommendations. So it was like, that was Colorado that did that.
Yeah,
so
that seems to be a lot of different states, especially those more like anti-states. We actually did a conversation.
Washington's another one. They're being sued right now by the Sportsmen's Alliance. Like they've installed a like their directors are being like there's 3 directors of their wildlife council that are being sued for working with anti-hunting organizations and then using like non-approved government devices to communicate with them, and then ignoring judges' orders to use official devices so they wouldn't be, they were communicating with them, doing official business on like non-official devices so they can go against public records requests.
Yeah, that's like
there's a whole big like thing going, a whole big lawsuit going on there.
Good. Sue them. They should sue them.
Yep. So yeah. So I've been following the Sportsman Alliance, which is a great organization that's pretty much sues the government when they go after hunters' rights. So
maybe we need to we need to remind them that falconry is a sport too. And
there's just not enough of you, so they don't get enough attention. But that's like what I was saying earlier. Like that's why we're going to write about it, pull some attention on it. Because I'm super Casey. I want to say one thing real quick. I've been friends with you on Facebook for a long time. I show my kids your videos and stuff.
Really?
I love watching whenever you post a video. I love watching it. I saw it when you did the RFK Jr. Donald Trump Jr. thing during the campaign. So yeah, just wanted to say that. Like I've been a fan of your content.
Thank you.
You forgot raccoon penis enthusiast. RFK.
Yeah. Yes.
They just the whole like culture, the whole thing is just so skewed towards anti-hunting, and I just think it's like we talked about on the show, like in a falconry like specific focus, but it's almost like you got to get somebody like yourself that's like more prominent. You have a relationship with those kind of people to like get invited to these colleges where like these future game and fish like biologists and managers like and talk to them and like explain to them, like you would think they would know, but it seems like they come out of these schools, they intern at these organizations, but they have like this whole, they're like skewed anti-hunting, and then they're getting hired by game and fish, organizations that like for the government that are, their goal is to manage wildlife through hunting. Because that's basically the only way we manage wildlife in the United States is through hunting and trapping. Well, trapping is probably arguably more important, but it's and it's like they're coming out of school like with a bias against like harvesting natural resources. Like it's like that's like me getting into plumbing and being like against like glue and primer for like PVC. It's like I don't like glue and primer. I think it's wrong to actually use glue and primer. So, but I'm going to become a plumber now.
No, you should push people towards outhouses.
Yeah, I think you should use an outhouse. I'm going to go to school to become a plumber. And then when I get hired by a plumbing company and I go there to fix something, I'm going to tell them, listen, I could dig a hole in your backyard and you could just take a dump in your backyard. It's going to be a lot better for the ecosystem. Like, you know what I mean? It's like completely counterintuitive to like literally what your job description is. And I don't really know like what can be done because it's scary to think in like 30, 40, 50 years, like we're just all going to be under attack. And I guess the Sportsman Alliance and other organizations, like, there's, like falconry, we're like the smallest fish, like the trappers are bigger than us, but like when you start messing with people's like pheasants, another invasive species, by the way, if you start messing with people's pheasants and quail and like their duck hunting and elk hunting and whitetail, like there's big money in that. And like they'll sue, they'll fight. And it's like, it's good. And that's like the only thing that we have as hunters to be like, all right, like at least like if they come after us, like at least be like these organizations like have money behind them and can like fight.
Well, that's one thing that I'm dealing with on the CWD issue is that there's a lot of states that are trying to kill all the deer to save them, and it's really making hunters angry. And I've been doing a whole series on that, and I've uncovered spending that comes from like the Missouri Department of Conservation. They've given $500,000 to the National Deer Association to just do propaganda work on their own. Like I literally have the contracts and I've posted them where they'll say, hey, we'll give you $128,000 a year to the National Deer Association. Then they'll say, oh, you're going to hire 2 of our employees. I have their names. I know who they are. And I've posted this stuff. And then we're going to train you. We're going to tell you where to go, what to do, what your job is. And they dictate everything, but they funnel the money through one of these hunting NGOs to work against hunters. And that kind of stuff happens all the time. And that's the stuff I'm digging into, because one of the things that I've actually done in politics, State Rep Heidi Workman, I helped her get elected and stuff. She's great. And I did a Doge program, like Department of Government Efficiency, where I learned how to go through the budget, find where the money's going. I mean, in Ohio, I found money for the Pink Tutu Project. I mean, that's a real thing. That's a line item in Ohio's budget. The Pink Tutu Project, the Columbus Gay Men's Choir, $50,000. I don't know why. So there's insane.
I'm a big part of that.
But there's just insane spending, and these game agencies are using this money. It's not even that they're not using it wisely; they're using it against us. And that's some of the stuff I'm digging into right now. And the more I dig, the more I find. And like you said, when it starts affecting deer hunters, well, there's big dollars there.
Yeah.
Falconry, there's not as many dollars there, so they can get away with it a little more until, somebody writes a viral post on it, which I foresee coming.
Yeah. No, good. Do it. We'll help you. Whatever you need from us, we'll help you.
So you told us earlier, or you told me earlier, and I don't even think we were recording yet, that you did you rocked the boat with big whitetail hunting organization on requesting ROI, basically requesting information.
Mm-hmm.
So we are no stranger to rocking the boat around here. So tell us more about that.
So that was the National Deer Association stuff. I actually interviewed Jason Sumners. He's the head of the wildlife. He's the head wildlife commissioner in Missouri. And I posted his face on Facebook and said, look at the money he's funneling to the National Deer Association. National Deer Association is a scam organization. Used to be QDMA. I used to be a member. They lost 97% of their paid memberships in a time period where the guy running it, this Pizzoli got Nick Pizzoli, something like that. He's made $1.4 million and lost 97% of his paid members because they don't represent hunters. And I realized that there's a lot of these organizations doing that. So that's when I started filing these public records requests. I still have FOIA requests out on them. You guys will like this since you have a podcast. The Deer Hunting 365, that is the which I'd never heard of. It is National Deer Association's podcast. They did 20 episodes of a podcast in 1 year, and they got $200,000 from the federal government. I have FOIA requests out to see what their measurables are on that. There's I won't get into the details. It'll get boring. But basically, they have to say what they accomplished. They got $10,000 per episode of this podcast 1 year for the National Deer Association did. Like, if you're going to get money to hunting, like, why aren't we making better edge habitat like we talked about earlier? Why aren't we doing things that actually help hunters? Why is it that just some dude can make $1.4 million running this organization, and then Jason Sumners actually sits on their board? There's prominent podcasters out there that are on their board. And the Missouri Department of Conservation just recently hired a PR firm so that they could pay the PR firm so that when my public records requests go out, I can't see what they're spending that money on. And they find creative ways to hide this. And to your point, Casey, they're using this stuff. They're using it. It's almost like they're anti-hunters. And I'm not actually saying that about Jason Sumners. I don't think he's actually anti-hunting. I just think that he's built his career on this CWD topic and he's refusing to read the science. But a lot of them really are. And I rock the boat with them. I'm again over the next year, people will see me writing a lot about. Again, it takes a lot of time. Like, New York is such a pain. I put out public records requests for New York, and they're constantly sending me the wrong stuff, and then they're delaying me. So it takes some time to do this. But what I'm doing and focusing on over this next year is digging into the money side of hunting and finding out who's spending our money. Where's it going? If a state agency is doing a good job with it, good. I'll promote that too. I'll make sure it gets millions of views on that. I will promote you like crazy because I think that's important. But if you're spending our money in a dumb way, I'm going to say that. And if you're funneling it through these hunting NGOs that are spending it against us, I'm going to say that too. And I think there are a lot of people that come out of these liberal universities that just want to be researchers. And it's a lot on the research side. I'll say this, a lot of like your game wardens, most of them are cool guys. Not all of them. Some of them suck, but yeah. Most of them, yeah, they really do. But I've met some cool guys there too. A lot of those guys are hunters. Even a lot of your commissioners are, but a lot of the biologists and stuff, they're nerdy kids from high school that really liked animals, and they went to a liberal university for 4 years. And now they're studying the animals that we're hunting and telling us what that actually should look like. And I don't think that they're the ones who should be saying how we should be hunting. I don't trust them. They're from liberal universities that are I hesitate to say that they're all anti-hunters, but a lot of them have an anti-hunting edge to them, and we're seeing that creep into the hunting community in deer hunting. And obviously, from what I'm hearing now in falconry, it seems like there's some stuff going on there too.
It's everything, all the above. It's the trappers, the hunters, the falconers, everything but fishing, basically.
No, that's probably going fishing too.
Casey, they were telling me earlier they're the co-owners of the fishing company. They bought it. The guy who created the rubber worm fishing lure, they own the company.
Damn.
Yeah. The long lures. Cool? Yep. 1946 was when it was invented. I have the original prototype for the rubber worm, and all. There's even patent paper somewhere where he got denied a patent, and supposedly it said, I read this in an article, that he got denied the patent for the rubber worm because you can't patent God's creation. I haven't seen the official patent submission, but that's what it said in an article. So
Casey agrees with that type of thing.
That's right.
So
I do.
I didn't get to mention this earlier, but I follow some dudes on YouTube who fish with like really trippy lures, like a giant turtle or a duckling or something like that. Mm-hmm. Do you guys make anything unusual like that?
Very much so. We have molds that nobody's ever seen before, like prototypes that have been made over the last 80 years, where there's only one of them. And I have them at my shop, and we'll make them and fish them. And that's one of the things that we're going to be doing this year is we're going to make videos doing some of that. Because, we have like Rack Junkies, the Sportsman Party, people know those. The long lures, I think our Facebook page has like 45,000 people now. We do pretty well, maybe 10, or probably like 20 million views a month now. And we want to go into like making some of those interesting lures nobody's seen and trying to catch some stuff on them. I don't know if they're good or if they suck. I mean, they look interesting though.
Yeah. I've thought about buying them, and I'm really not much of a fisherman. I just think they're cool looking, like a rat or a duckling or a turtle, like a big one.
Yeah, those top water ones.
Yeah,
or very cool.
A big frog, a really big frog lure. That would be cool.
Trying to think what's the most interesting one. We've got trying to think. It's like I think it was the blood leech or whatever. It's probably about that long. We only have one mold for him. It's a weird looking, it's a saltwater lure, but looks like a giant centipede. And it's probably about 8 to 10 inches long. Yeah, this thing looks crazy.
They're basically demonic if you look at them. You ever seen them?
Yeah.
You ever seen one?
Yeah.
I used to have one of those giant Vietnamese centipedes. Is that what you're talking about?
Those are despicable. We're talking about bloodworms that live in the sand. And when you grab them, it just looks like a worm, and then it comes out of itself like a horror movie, and then it's got like fangs. It's disgusting.
Yeah,
imagine you grab one, Casey, and it doubles over and like starts tearing it.
I'll cut my hand off, dude.
We've got those molds.
I'll just cut my hand off and jump off the boat, dude.
And we've got some really ones that won't work. We've got a 3-inch ant. That's
really like a big ant.
Sucks. I tried to use it. I didn't catch anything.
It doesn't catch anything.
They probably just think it's a giant spider.
Yeah.
Oh, but we do have a spider that's like a 1-inch spider. Oh, that thing works so good on bluegill.
Really?
Oh, it's awesome.
You can catch bluegill with almost anything, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one you can just like toss it in there. You watch them, and it's like fun to fish with your kids with this thing.
Oh yeah.
Do you guys feel like fishing is under legislative threat at all?
Yes and no. I mean, there's some things I've been since we started doing more writing. So with our whole journey on this, like we started out like 10 years ago, and we had the huntingnews.com for years, and we did a bunch of writing. Then we got away from the writing because you couldn't make money doing that anymore. And it was this last year we started writing a lot more, and it really got big over the last year. And now that it's getting into fishing season, I've started doing writing on fishing legislation, and I'm just starting to dive into that. There's a history in the United States of conserving fisheries and those sorts of things, but there's invasive species problems, a lot of similar problems to hunting. I just haven't dove into them yet, but I will be.
So you primarily you're a writer.
Yeah. So basically, and anymore because of that getting as big as it has, I'm mostly what we do is sit around reading research and then writing and just talking to people. So like you said earlier, you'd connect us with a few people on things. Like I have them call me. Like I put my personal phone number on my Facebook page. When I get that many views, I get calls all the time. I get crazy people calling me. I've had people telling me gravity isn't real, and I've had flat earthers call me. I've had interesting people call me. Yeah, it's cool. Like I actually really enjoy, I'll talk to anybody, man. Tell me what you think. You may be crazy, but yeah. So mostly right now we write probably 4 or 5 days a week. I have to run the fishing lure company a bit, and then our Kill Shot Coffee, we own part of that. So there's a little bit of work there.
So do you guys do this full time? Like, so this is, I'm sorry, Aaron, excuse me.
Go ahead, man.
So you do this is like your full time gig. You guys don't have like us, like on this side of the screen, like a day job.
No, so the long lures is kind of our day job, but the long lures is getting pretty big. And so I actually have my wife mostly running it now, and we have employees making stuff. So we've moved more into the content side of things, because that does two things. We make some money off of it, and we do pretty well there. But because like I sign everything, Steven Ziegler, outdoor writer, owner, DeLong Lures, I get, hundreds of millions of free ad impressions on social media. And so that's really helped drive sales. And, DeLong's been around for 80 years. So, I mean, people they've used them since they were kids. So they see our new lures and they call up and order. So it's made for a successful business where we can, run DeLong lures and just mostly write and travel around the country. We're heading to Florida next week to go shoot an alligator, hog, spend a few days in the Everglades fishing for bass, and an iguana hunt too. So we just travel around, hunt, fish, and have fun. We'd like to do a really cool job.
It does sound like a fun job.
So there's we're trying to go with I think it's Lindsay something.
It's like the Legacy Ranch. Yeah,
yeah. So we're gonna go down there. He was a cool dude. We met him at the Pennsylvania show.
Great American Outdoor Show.
Yeah. One thing we do, we go to those shows and we walk around and we just like get all these small companies and we just like show off their stuff, and they'll go viral and it like blows up their business. It's like one of the funnest things is to be able to do stuff like that. It's really cool.
We thought about going there to one of those expos, and like bring our birds and like do a thing about the podcast. But I mean, it's we're new to the game. We want to be you guys when we grow up.
We were just redneck kids with GoPros, just acting like idiots in the woods, and then we kind of obsessed over everything hunting, and that's why I'm super interested. I was excited to come on here because I obsess over certain things, and then I'll read all the research. I talk to interesting people, and then I can write about it. So, like I said, anybody that listens to this, like your followers, obviously are hardcore. I've listened to a few of your podcasts over the last couple of days. They're very knowledgeable people. And anybody that wants to reach out and like tell me what are you guys dealing with? What's the struggle? Some of the things we talked about here, and I'll write about that kind of stuff. What's actually affecting real hunters is what I like to write about.
So when you're writing, are you writing and then are you pitching it to like Field and Stream, Outdoor Life, Meat Eater?
No.
You're just publishing them on your own website.
Yeah. Just on Facebook. We publish them straight to Facebook. It used to be to a website, but there's a bonus program on Facebook. So we just use that, and so we can make money directly posting to Facebook. And because there's such short attention spans, we write in like bite-sized chunks of 1 or 2 paragraphs at a time, trying to explain one little thing. And we'll do like a whole series on it. And then people will we've figured out how to really get the algorithm to favor us, because people will go to our page. Like people go to my page every day just to see what I wrote about CWD, or they'll see they'll go to see what my writing was about polar bears. Once I start writing about falconry, you'll have people coming to the page just to see what that article is about that day, because they're super interested in learning about that. And you do one every day. And so that really helps to have Facebook pushes our stuff to a lot of people because we have so many people coming to our page. And like I said, I'm interested in this falconry stuff.
Like I've been writing about feral cats for the last 5 days.
Oh, nice.
So I've been a different like snippet about. Usually mine are. He usually writes 1 and 2 paragraphs. I usually write 2 or 3 paragraphs.
Okay.
Usually about one little topic.
Like how to kill them, how to shoot them, like what kind of things you're writing about.
Like trap and release, why it doesn't work. The only thing that is working with trap and release is that it's a feeding program for coyotes. How many cats can a coyote eat, and that, or how many birds did they kill each over the years, and just kind of hammer down a topic for 5 or 6 posts, one a day for 5 or 6 days, then I'll move on to a different topic. I have about 3 or 4 topics going on at any given time. And then I mix in 2 or 3 memes a day. And that's kind of like my Facebook rhythm, because literally me and him are responsible probably for 1/3 of the hunting memes that are going around right now. If you look at half of them, it's like, I probably made those over like the past 10 years, because if I find something funny, I make them. And I see them, my meme shared so much. I'm like, I made that. And that's been floating around. I was like,
what's cool though, is something really interesting is that when you look at the outdoor writers and stuff, like the websites, like Field and Stream, how many people get the Field and Stream magazine? Is it 10,000? Like, I don't know. Like how many people go to their website? A couple million? Like we average 300 million views a month. So what we blow everyone out of the water. Like more people follow our stuff and watch our stuff. And this seems a little cocky and arrogant, but
let's go spit it, man.
Yeah, but the point is, like, I feel like I'm being a little cocky, but like the point is that when you go straight to people and you are actually representing everyday average hunters and talking about all of the things that they care about, or even the things they don't know they care about that are interesting. Do you know how many people that just whitetail deer hunt during shotgun season that are going to see posts about falconry and be like, oh, I didn't know anything about that. That's awesome. And then like start commenting on it and liking it and be interested in it. Like that happens with every topic that we do, but you have to post it straight for the people. And, I take a lot of crap from like these old school writers that will get mad at me. They're like, you're not a writer. You're just writing a paragraph or two. It's like, look, man, the industry changed. Nobody reads those long articles anymore. I wish they did. I read them, but the vast majority of people don't. So either adapt or, get left behind.
True. Yeah, nobody like gets a magazine subscription and sits on the crapper and reads an article. That's those days, they scroll on their phone. They sit there and scroll on their phone and read 5 or 6 of our little articles.
Yeah,
so
it's true. So what is the key to harnessing Facebook's algorithm?
There's a couple of them.
Or is that proprietary?
No, I don't hide anything. I tell everybody exactly what I do. I don't hide any of it because I think that the best content wins on social media. Like I said a minute ago, when you write interesting things, and here's the thing. Like I said, we sit around and read research. I read CWD research papers every day. So I have knowledge that other people don't have. These biologists who will claim to be the experts, I write about this stuff, and I'm betting this is going to happen with falconry too when I dive into this. These experts that are in the game agencies will tell you they're wrong. You'll send them screenshots of their own research, and they're like, I start getting calls like, "Oh, I didn't know that." Like, so you didn't actually read it. I think I'm one of the only people actually reading that research. So if anybody wants to like dive in and obsess over a topic and then simplify it down for Facebook, you'll get views. And I'll show anybody how to do it. I'm showing some of them how to do it because I'm inviting people who disagree with me to write on Rack Junkies to tell people why they disagree with me. I'm not afraid of that at all. If I'm wrong, I admit it. I've been wrong before, and I'll write about it until I get millions of views telling everybody how wrong I was because I care about the truth. And I think that's the other thing is it built trust because I do that. And so it's trust, it's knowledge, and it's hard work actually is a big part of it as well.
Yeah, and the other one's reading all those articles.
Yeah, and being consistent with your Facebook. That's most people will post once and then.
What if you only post something once a month?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I just did 12 hours, Aaron. Okay.
Yeah, it's like I'm trying. I post five to 6 times a day, but even if you're just posting once a day, it's better than once a month. It's like you just being consistent and just like consistently engaging with people and get people to know you and know who you are and kind of trying to be a little bit edgy and a little bit controversial and a little bit push the envelope a little bit and just
make people think. Discuss the uncomfortable topics. You guys do that with the cat.
Oh,
thing.
Yeah.
That's not uncomfortable. Killing a cat's not uncomfortable.
Oh yeah,
it's uncomfortable to post it on Facebook. Is what it is.
Oh yeah.
What do you? So Aaron, with your research on feral cats, if let's say a trapper goes out and he traps a feral cat in a foothold, okay, and then he calls a game warden, and what is the game warden going to tell him to do? No collar on the cat, no nothing.
Well, here in Ohio, to kill it's a felony.
I know. In pretty much every state in the country, it's a felony. I've had some people message me and say it's not. I'm pretty sure that it's a felony in every state in the country. That if you shoot
I know for a fact,
or harm a cat, it's a felony.
I know for a fact it is, and they just passed a law. It's called Goddard's Law in Ohio. So named after the weatherman here in Cleveland. But the game.
Oh, the weatherman killed one?
No, the weatherman. The weatherman. It was like a big, pet advocate. And they named it in honor of him. So he was like he was like everybody's favorite weatherman for decades.
The guy who got the weather wrong all the time gets to tell us what we're going to do with wildlife.
Sounds like a fruitcake.
Cool. But the game warden will probably tell you to release it. That's what my guess is. I don't know for sure. I've never called him on that, but the game warden, he would probably tell you to release it, or probably, I don't know, tell you to take it to a shelter. I don't know. He'll probably tell you to release it.
That'd be great content to film the entire interaction and film the game warden and be like, so you're asking me to release this feral species back into the ecosystem to do what exactly? Oh,
that would be.
He pulls out his gun and shoots you. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's crazy. It's absolutely ridiculous that they're going back and forth about this and fighting over that, fighting over this and bag limits and take and what you can do, what you can't do. And then they got just cats just out here slaughtering stuff. It's insane. It's insane. It's like laughable.
Yeah. I got this one comment from one of the cat groups on my last post, and they're talking about community cats and what you shouldn't do with cats, and how the communities failed these cats if you ethically euthanize them and all that. I'm like, does any other invasive species get this treatment? Are pythons? They community? Are they community pythons? Are they community wild pigs? Yeah. Are they community zebra mussels? Are they communities, Asian carp?
I'm going to start a pit bull colony.
I'm like, Are these like
community?
What other species? I think the only other invasive species that may get close to feral cats are wild horses.
And, that's another one too. Yeah, that's a big problem.
Yeah, that's the only other one I get a ton of pushback with, and they justify no, those are native species because they existed during the Pleistocene era. Like,
it's not the same animal.
Back when saber-toothed tigers also roamed the plains, and we had wild cheetahs in America, and they had lions. So it's like, that makes a lot of sense. So we should manage our wildlife when
we should also introduce some lions too.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah,
let's reintroduce the saber-toothed tiger back into the United States, and
they're trying to cut grizzly bears loose in California.
Bear. So
you heard about that, guys?
Oh yeah. We've been. Yes, I know.
Bro, these people these people are out of their mind, bro. They're trying to cut grizzly bears loose in California, bro.
Oh yeah.
Are these people these people like idiots? Like
you don't think that would be cool?
I'm all for it. As long as it's in LA County, like I'm all for it. Like start there.
Oh yeah.
Just put it right there, downtown LA. We'll solve the whole problem real quick.
Exactly,
Make them live with them, and then they won't want them.
That was their historical range, was along the coastline, eating all that nutrients all over the coastline. They weren't out up in the they maybe have been up in the mountains, but their primary location was where we settled. So like you're cutting them loose in an area that they never even inhabited. Like, where do you think they're going to end up, dude?
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean. So it's ridiculous.
I want to ask you guys a question. What do you think is the animal that probably went the most viral when we posted about it, or when Steven posted about it? You'll probably never guess. Which animal?
Cats get people fired up. Bears get people fired up. The polar bear stuff you've been doing, Steven, is freaking awesome.
Yeah, I'll tell you what it was. I stumbled across this on accident. I posted about this animal and did a whole series on it. It's the most hated animal that I never saw coming. The otter. Every time I post about an otter, I get bombarded with phone calls, emails, private messages about how much people hate otters. They're like, they're just nasty wolves of the river. And I mean, they wiped out my whole pond. They attack people. They just did. The otters just went and grabbed some little kid, drug him in into the water, some like toddler. And then the mom saved them and got bit and all tore up from it. They're nasty little
American
creatures.
Otters?
Yeah. The little river otters. Those cute little
so
things.
Bad. Yeah, they're so
people
bad.
love otters.
That's why they go viral. That's why they go viral, because they people love them and think they're cuddly, and they're super people get excited about them because they're so cute. But then, like, at the same time, they go viral from that sense. But then the other sense is that they'll wipe out an entire like stretch of river from just eating everything that's there. And then if it's breeding season or the females are in heat, like they'll literally just like jump in your boat and just like try to kill you, basically.
Yeah.
Like they're super territorial. Aaron, you never knew that?
No, I knew that. I didn't think it was as big of a problem as people let on.
Yeah. You think polar bears. Trust me, I get death threats when I write about polar bears. Don't worry, I get that too.
But I think the thing is, people expect it from a bear, expect it from something. They don't expect it from something that's like something
that is
so
super. That is
evil.
super. I would not see that coming. I mean, I could see it. I could see how that, but I wouldn't have guessed that it was an otter that would be like going crazy.
I'm on the list of trappers in the state who are willing to come out and remove nuisance animals. And I actually have a call for someone who wants me to come check out their muskrat problem, Casey. That might be some free hawk food.
Let's do it. Will you do it?
But I've gotten calls about otters. People will get otters in their fishing pond and eat everything in there.
Yeah.
But the problem is they'll do it real quick and then they're gone.
Yeah.
I had a landowner one time. He had a Ring doorbell and he has no water on his property at all. Like he lives on like 75 acres of woods with no real water. He said one night his Ring doorbell camera went off and there was an otter eating cat food on his back porch.
That's crazy.
They get everywhere, man.
Yeah. No, he said this guy knew what he was talking about. I believe him when he said it was an otter. So I want to ask you guys, we haven't talked at all about predator control and trapping. And that seems to be a big focus. At least it has been fairly recently on your page. Casey attributes his high game numbers in his county to a family that traps predators. They trap canines and felines. That too. People get emotional about that too.
Yes. So I did a lot of those posts. Like I was talking about, like turkeys was the one. Whether it's the PETA possum is always a good one because I love to post about possums just because it annoys me so much when you look into that study and they starved a possum for 2 days and put it in a box with a bunch of ticks. And then they saw how many ticks it ate and they're like, okay, now let's extrapolate that by 24 hours and then extrapolate that by 365 days. But when you look into the real research, they've killed a bunch of possums. They cut open their stomachs to see what they're eating is some research. And they've never found a tick in one. So it's like they don't even eat ticks. Yeah, I know it is. But, it is true that in areas where you trap predators, you're going to get pushback from the anti-hunting community saying, specifically, I just wrote this today, actually, it was Dan Flores talked about this on Joe Rogan's podcast. And it's total nonsense. But there's this idea that if you shoot coyotes, that they'll howl and they take a census of each other and then they're gonna increase breeding and that there's going to end up being, so if you shoot coyotes, you'll end up with even more coyotes.
That's always what I understood, to be honest.
It's not true.
So the follicles don't increase when there's no answer? It's not true? I'm generally out because I read Coyote America or whatever. Spirit of the Coyote or whatever the hell that book was.
That's not true. So what happens is
listening, and nowadays listening is the same as reading, Aaron.
Exactly. But so what is true is that if you shoot a coyote, there's other coyotes from around are probably going to move in. And if there's less competition for the food, there's more food to support more pups. So their litters will get bigger. There's no evidence that these coyotes are talking to each other. Dan Flores is an interesting guy. I read his book too, and I actually read it. I didn't listen to it, but it's true that there will be bigger pups because there's more food that can be supported. If you go in and shoot one coyote in October, it's not going to make a difference in coyote populations in your area. If you shoot, a bunch in the spring, or specifically if you're trapping them, you can lower numbers. So there was a study done that showed that when they did all this trapping, and they're like, well, look at the trapping, look at all this trapping we did, and there was the same number of coyotes across the state. But when you so the headline said, trapping doesn't lower coyote numbers. But when you dig into the study, it says that, well, the areas that they trapped, there was less coyotes, but across the whole state, there was the same amount. It's like, it was bogus. It is. And people can manipulate data, and they do manipulate data. There's no evidence that coyote increase when you shoot them. Trust me, we hunt on a place for rabbits where the guy goes out and shoots all of, we better not tell part of that story. We'll tell part. I normally don't mind talking about anything on a podcast. There's one thing we won't talk about. This is the only thing I won't talk about. We'll talk about that later. But he shoots all these coyotes, and there's rabbits everywhere. And when you go to areas where they're not hunting, guess what? There's not as many rabbits. There's not as many turkey. Hunting predators does lead to less of the game that you're hunting being killed by those predators. That research is out there, and anybody that says differently is either lying about the numbers, they're manipulating them. I've read the studies. There's absolutely no proof that the census thing is happening, but it is true that there are bigger litters because of more food to support more pups. So that the next year you could have instead of 8 pups, you could have 12 pups. But you just got to kill those coyotes too. It's an ongoing thing to get rid of predators. If you stop, they're going to come back.
Yes. It's a huge problem. Yeah. Have you ever heard? I don't know. If you sound like you've researched the whole trapping a lot, but Zach and Laura Gidney live in my neighborhood, and they do seminars all over the country. And I moved here to my area about August will be 5 years. And I learned about them like 2 years after we moved here. I gave them permission, of course, to trap my whole property. And they're trapping like I live in like a residential neighborhood. They're trapping fisher, bobcat, like in my neighborhood. And I'm like, what? And I hear coyotes howling all the time. Like, so I know coyotes and fox obviously are all over, but I'm like, a fisher in my neighborhood? Like, that's crazy. Like, I don't live in the mountains, like in the wilderness. I just live in a neighborhood.
They're getting a lot of fisher, Casey.
I think he got hit. He filled his tag and his mom filled her tag this past year too.
How many fisher can they take?
You can only take one in New York, I think. One per tag. Yeah.
So they're taking two.
So they're taking two. Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know what happens if they trap more than they're allowed to, but I'm assuming the set is specific for them. I'm not exactly sure how it works, but, and, so I've known of them for 3 years. First year I met them, they broke their record, 2 something canines and like 50 something bobcat, unlimited bobcat in my county, by the way. Then last year, the year before this past season, broke that record. This past season, they took like over 320 something canines and like almost 100 bobcat. Just
dang.
And it's like their whole barn. They take an end of the year photo. Like the whole barn is, you can't even see the barn anymore. Like they're so hardcore.
I think I've seen that photo.
Oh, you've definitely seen it. The whole barn is just like literally you can't even see any wood. It's just all fur, and it's just a mother and her son, and that's all they do. And then their other son is obsessed with birds of prey, so he photographs all my birds. But it's like, and then I'm out and I'm going to these fields and I'm frustrating like 10, 15, 20 rabbits in like a field, and I'm just noticing year after year, like my fields are just continuing to produce a lot of rabbits. And then I drive out of the area and it's like slim pickings wherever I go. And I'm like, it's got to be because of them. They're trapped in the same areas I'm flying my birds, and we're just flushing rabbits left and right. There's no way it's not correlated, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I 100% agree. And the research tends to show that pretty clearly.
It's just so much work that they put in. It's insane. It's like absolutely insane. You have to check your traps every 24 hours. Mm-hmm. Some of their sets, they have to drive their truck to the person's house. This kid, like, you know, his mom, I don't think his mom works. The husband works, but then he's got school and stuff. And then they have to like load up their 4-wheeler, go check all their sets, then unload the 4-wheeler, drive up, you know, like multiple properties. They have to drive up with the 4-wheeler, check their sets, drive back down, load it into the truck, go to the next one. And there may not even be anything in the trap. And I'm like, the amount of effort that they put in, it's like you don't really get anything out of it other than just love, like the fact that they love doing it. And it's just, I just wish there was some way that we could like bring back the fur boom. Like, do you think that's ever like, is that going to happen again?
Well, not with Etsy banning it.
I know.
Well, I wrote about how the fur boom, like how it crashed. It has to do with the Russia invading Afghanistan, which is kind of crazy because that's when we first put sanctions on Russia, which was where Russia was the huge fur market, where we were sending like 90%. So 90% of our fur was going to Russia. And when we sanctioned Russia, we stopped sending fur to them. And that's when the fur market started to collapse in the United States. And that's what led to pretty much the collapse of trapping.
Is there still a sanction on, can we still not send? No, we need to end that.
So
let's end that.
Yeah, that's gonna take a lot, especially with the war in Ukraine.
Dude, like, you want to talk about controversial topics? Like, dude, Russian people are pretty cool, dude.
Yeah,
I spent 3 months in Moldova as a kid when I was 15, and then 17 again. My parents sent me there on a mission trip. Moldova is like between Romania and the Ukraine, so I was right there. There's a ton of Russian people over there too. You're right, they were.
Yeah. And I met a lot of Russians when I was stationed in Germany. There's a lot of Russian immigrants there. I think a couple of the guys were Russian mafia guys. So they were pretty cool dudes.
They were wearing just like track suits and just
tracksuits,
smoking cigarettes.
And like all of them were named Ivan. I don't usually drink vodka, but he bought me a vodka, and I'm like, I'm going to drink this vodka.
Yeah, you better drink this vodka. You drink.
Yeah, he's like, you have vodka. I'm like, okay.
You insult me. Drink.
Yeah, and because I just beat him at pool, and I thought.
Oh no! You definitely.
He's like, here, have vodka. I'm like, okay.
Now you made the fool of Jovanovic. You never Jungle the Jungle. You never saw Jungle the Jungle.
Like, oh, America beat me.
Make a fool of Jovanovic.
I read a really cool book about Russian tigers and the idea that tigers will seek revenge. It's called The Tiger. It's on Spotify too, so you don't even need to pay for it if you want to listen to the audiobook.
Really?
Try to get him on the podcast. Couldn't get a hold of him.
You think that's real?
It's an interesting story. So the guy.
So is Coyote America, though.
Yeah, it's possible. It could be real, but the tiger, like the guy attempted to kill the tiger, and he wasn't successful. And then the tiger followed him back to his cabin and waited for him and killed him at his cabin.
I've heard of that story. I haven't heard the story, but I've heard of the story. I might have to check on out of free.
Interesting details in there. They talked about how insulated a tiger is, that if they lay on the snow will not melt because they're warm on the inside and it doesn't escape their body. And they said they found a spot where the tiger laid, and it laid there so long it was days because the snow was melted where it laid waiting for somebody. Interesting.
That's
stuff.
wild.
It is interesting. Russia's an insane country. They have Siberian goshawks there, first of all, which is the coolest. They have tigers, brown bears. I me's like they have everything there. It's crazy.
They have the biggest
leopards.
Biggest moose in the world, right?
Yeah, over in Kamchatka. If I ever want to go hunt somewhere, I want to go hunt Kamchatka for Kamchatka moose or brown bear. I don't think I'll ever get the chance but that's a wild place over there in that side of Russia.
Oh yeah, and then the birds that Stephen that you saw that I fly, those white ones, a lot of the stock that we have in the United States from that are white originated from Kamchatka. That's where they came from.
Okay.
Where they were taking. There's a whole dude. If we could get some of these guys on the podcast and you could just listen and you could get a hold of them to write something. You want to talk about something that's, wheeling and dealing with those Russians back in like the 80s. Like going over there, trapping wild birds from the wild, then like paying them like crazy money in briefcases, then flying back to the US, then them like shipping them over in like cargo ships. And then they were the wrong birds and like they got scammed and then they disappeared. Then they had to fly back over, find this next bird. And then like this guy was in charge of the whole thing. And then he had to like give the okay for them to go with the other group of guys into the wilderness to get. The whole story is like in like literally like cartel stuff, but it was all legal. But it was like you're going from Russia to America, so like the whole like the rules all change, everything gets blurred, and like you don't know if you're gonna get shot or like it was like the whole story is insane. But these guys were like they won't talk about it. Like they just want to take it to their grave. The whole story of how we got white goshawks in the United States. It's crazy. And then now like really cool. I think a couple people brought him in like just like there's a guy over there that breeds beautiful, and they just pay him and then. He bred them and then shipped them here. But like the original ones, like they were wild. They were like wheeling and dealing. And it's like the whole story is insane. Like it's a crazy story. And we still have those genetics to this day, which is really cool.
That is cool.
So on the subject of big game, we had touched on polar bears a few times. I've seen you guys have covered other predators like mountain lion, black bear, things like that. That's another thing that people get really emotional about.
Yes, they do. And I do a lot of the predator. I do a lot of the predator series because I think it's important to talk about, again, the topics that are maybe a little uncomfortable are necessary because if we're not shining light on them, that slowly state legislatures do take away your rights. Just look at California with mountain lions. It's crazy. I forget the exact numbers, but they pay somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000 per mountain lion to kill them. Like it's a crazy amount. And obviously California doesn't know how to spend money at all. But when I did the research, I put a picture of Gavin Newsom and then a mountain lion, and that just made it go viral because everybody hates Gavin Newsom now. So like it was funny that I wish I knew the exact numbers, somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000. So instead of making money that could go to conservation to improve habitat or to increase numbers of whatever, they're spending millions and millions of dollars to pay people to go out and shoot the mountain lions that a hunter would shoot. And you can regulate it the same way. And I think it was, I want to say it was back in the 90s that they made it illegal. They started protecting mountain lions, and it hasn't helped. They have whole populations that are segmented now, and they're trying to do all sorts of stuff to make it better. But they're the only place that's struggling, and they're the only place not using hunters. So
was it like
tell me what the
76?
problem is.
It was the 90s. I just wrote an article about it.
Oh, it was the 90s, not the 70s?
Yeah. Yeah, it was
another
the 90s.
state. I thought it was another state. They shut it down.
And it was, and they also, or that might have been the year they banned hunting with dogs, because you can't hunt with dogs, bears as well in California, but you can still hunt bears. But they actually just upped the tags to hunt bears in California from 1 to 2 to try and act, because they weren't even close to hitting their quotas to be
really,
effectively manage them. They said it's only probably going to, they may only get a couple more 100 more bears killed. So because that's only 200 or 300 hunters are going to get 2 bears instead of just 1.
Can you bait in California?
No, I don't think you can bait either.
That's probably
I don't know that for sure. Just trying to remember what all the.
So they do allow some bear hunting in California.
Yes, you're allowed to bear hunt in California, but you can't hunt with dogs. But that's like the only way you can effectively hunt bears over there
without bait.
And I don't think you can bait. So it's almost like if you're out there and you see one as spot and stalk, which is
a nightmare.
Depending on where you're. Like if you're in Northern California, how thick it is up there. So if you happen to see one while you're deer hunting, you can shoot it. So that's pretty much their strategy of bear hunting. It's the same way with in like Oregon and Washington. I think you can hunt dogs in Washington, but Oregon, you can't hunt bears with dogs either. So that's their tags are if you buy one if you go deer hunting, and if you see a bear, you shoot it. You can shoot it. Same thing with a mountain lion. If you see one while you're and it's like $10. So it's pretty much an add-on. And if you see it while you're hunting deer, a species that you have a reasonable chance of harvesting, you shoot it. And that's like the only opportunity you have of getting a bear or a mountain lion in those states, which that's the way it seems. I've never hunted up there, but that's the way it looks. It's like, because of how thick it is, it's like almost impossible to actually go out and target them.
Well, there are so many misconceptions about hunting with hounds.
Oh yeah, I hunted pigs this past year with hounds in Mississippi. No, take that back. I was in Mississippi, then we went across the border to Louisiana and hunted with some Louisiana boys for hogs. That was fun.
Sounds like a fun hunt.
Yeah, so they had chase dogs, and they released pit bulls when they had them bait up, and then we tackled the pigs and literally hog tied them. And
so you didn't kill them, or they were moving them? Or?
No, we killed them. We killed them after the hunt was done with. So
what do? You hog tied them and then put them in the truck, and then at the end of the day, you just killed them?
Yeah, so they were all killed right at the end of the hunt. So you had like a live well in the back of your truck, basically. Pretty much. So we had 2 small ones and then a full grown sow, and so pretty much they were alive all the way up to the end. So that because it was November, but it was still like 70 degrees. You didn't want a pig laying there like all day, in the sun. So you just waited till like literally a live well. So actually we actually just tied them to trees until they were, and then we came up and picked them up on 4-wheelers at the end of the day. Picked up all the hogs that we caught and then took them back to the main camp and killed them with a knife. So didn't even waste a bullet.
No, yeah, don't waste a bullet. What were they? Were they squealing? What
would it sound like, Casey?
Oh, yeah, they did that. Yeah, they weren't happy, especially when the dogs got on. They bite their ear until the guys we were with, they just jump on and put their knee right there on their neck. Then,
oh my gosh, that sounds fun. Any excuse to make my pig squeal. So
it's crazy. It's
my favorite thing in the whole world.
It was like the most insane hunt I've ever been on.
That sounds.
Imagine if you
fun.
made that sound around like hog dogs.
Oh, they would go
crazy.
Grab me by my ear, dude.
Yeah, those dogs are the nicest things.
Yeah,
not if you're squealing like Casey is.
Oh yeah, if I went on all fours and I'm all fat now, I'd be like, they just freaking. Oh, I'd be done, dude. The guide wouldn't even know what's going on. He just started stabbing me.
Yeah, the guide would stab you in the neck.
Yeah, he would just like reacted. Man, No, I've never been on a pig hunt. I've never been on a pig hunt. It just Aaron, a peccary is not a pig, really. It's kind of a pig.
Javelina, it's not a pig.
No.
Actually, you guys posted about that recently.
Yeah, I wrote about that. They're actually more closely related to rodents than they are pigs.
Yeah, I went on a javelina hunt. I bagged me a javelina. Its head's cooking outside in a bucket in the sun right now.
Ooh. Right now?
Well, it's macerating, as they say.
Ooh. You're doing it the old fat, like you're letting it rot out.
Yeah, you let it naturally decompose and then dump it out and then take a pressure washer to it.
You can just boil it, right? And do it that way.
Well, they say boiling pig skulls that they're like the bones. Well, they're not a pig, so maybe that doesn't matter. But that sometimes you can boil the skulls and damage them. So I'm trying to avoid doing that. All right. So, where do you guys want to go from here? I
want to talk more about polar bears.
Yeah, let's talk about the polar bear. So
that's such a cool topic, man.
Steven, before you came on, had said, he made the point, you're allowed to go shoot them, but you cannot bring them back. You can't bring anything back from the polar bear.
Yeah. So that's the rules.
Is that their way of discouraging people from doing it?
It's basically politicians in DC being incredibly racist, in my opinion. I've written numerous articles calling anybody that's voting for that stuff racist, which tends to be on the liberal side. And it's kind of fun to call liberals racist for me for some reason. So, I mean, right. So like these Inuit cultures, I'm friends with this guy, is like Kana or something on Facebook. I actually don't know how to pronounce his name because it's like Kana, but there's like these little circles over the A's. I didn't even know that was an option. So when I became friends with him on here, I was like watching all these polar bears he was shooting, and like beluga whales and narwhals and seals, and he lives off of this stuff. And so basically the Inuit cultures, they get like certain amount of tags, and they've been living with these polar bears for thousands of years. They know how to manage them. And now in Washington, D.C., and we're one of the only countries doing this, you can shoot whatever polar bears, however many tags you have, you can shoot them. If you're an American hunter, it costs a lot of money. And then you can leave it all there. You bring your hide, you can set it right at the border, and you can't bring it across the border because the Endangered Species Act. They say they're endangered. Now with polar bears, there's the highest number of polar bears ever on record right now. There's like an estimated like 35,000. Now they've only been keeping track since the 70s, but I think the population was like 5,000 to 8,000 at one point. They've never stopped hunting them. All these rules don't do anything to prevent hunting. It just prevents you from bringing the hide back and actually utilizing the whole resource. And when Washington is telling these people, hey, you don't know how to manage the animals you've lived with for thousands of years, I think that that's a racist policy to have. And I think that they need to get rid of it. And I did a whole series on it. Every single one of them went over 1 million views. And I probably did 30 posts on it back in January, February time. And it doesn't make any sense. It's kind of like the falconry stuff that you guys have been talking about with, like the golden eagles, where when anybody that logically looks at it, they're going to look at it and go, oh, yeah, that's dumb. Get rid of it. But when you look at it from an emotional standpoint and you realize that most of our politicians are cowards and they're not going to vote for something they think is going to cost them votes, even if it's the right thing to do, that's a big problem in this country. And that's the thing with polar bears. There's numerous things. People eat those polar bears. Like you eat polar bear meat. And so whenever I post it, you get all these comments about, oh, well, you're just a bunch of trophy hunters. It's like, oh, I always say this, define trophy hunting for me then. What do you mean? Well, you just shoot it to mount it on your wall. Like, okay, it's being eaten. The fat's being used. The hide's being used. Every part of that animal is being used. Like people live off of these things. Mm-hmm. So the term trophy hunting is one of the dumbest things I hear. So polar bears are regulated. They're regulated by the Inuit cultures, and we're doing nothing to save polar bears. And polar bear populations are arguably too high now. And here's something interesting. I was trying to look it up. So I'll use like AI to look things up. I don't I don't write with it. I actually just look up facts. And so I tried to say, hey, what are the polar bear populations? And AI kept telling me, and this is why you can't use AI too much. Well, polar bear populations are declining, but I knew that they weren't. I said, well, here's the studies. read these studies, tell me. And it just kept saying it over and over and over. And every AI bot that I tried to use, because I went to a bunch of them just to see how liberal bias they had, they kept saying, well, localized populations are falling. So you mean populations in areas are going up and down like every species throughout all of human history? That you're not saying anything. Overall populations are up. Hunting, there's plenty of tags, and all of the guys that I talk to personally who live with these animals tell me that they've never seen more than they're seeing right now. Without exception, every single one's like, they could increase tags even more than they are. That's what I constantly hear. So, I mean, when I cover a topic, I cover it from all angles, whether it's hunting, are you eating it? How dangerous are those predators? If you were living with those predators, and I mean, they have kids, and there's polar bears just walking around. Imagine a polar bear. They're like the meanest predator in the world. They're so nasty. They're very aggressive. Imagine that thing walking around where your kids are at. And then telling those people, hey, you can't hunt those, or you can't hunt as many as you want to hunt, or whatever regulation they're putting on it. Now, the rest of the world, I think there's like maybe one other country, but for the most part, anywhere else in the world, if you shoot a polar bear, you can bring it back. All the European countries, you can bring your polar bear back. It's just the United States. We're the only ones dumb enough to just say, shoot it and just leave it and waste it. We're the only ones. It is stupid. It drives me nuts.
We should let countries manage their resources the way they see fit and focus on ours. We have the Endangered Species Act covers non-native wildlife. For instance, I have radiated tortoises, which are from Madagascar, and they're endangered in the wild. There are a lot of them in captivity in America. They're captive bred all the time. But because they're endangered in the wild, I cannot legally sell them across state lines without permits issued by the federal government for the buyer and the seller. So like if Casey wanted to buy one from me, we would both need to draw permits that would take months to get approved by bureaucrats and pay a fee to do it. When this animal is from the other side of the world, this animal is captive born from captive born parents with captive born grandparents. You know what I mean? Long lines of captive born animals. Why are we managing them within America? Let's leave it up to Madagascar to manage them. And if they're here legally, that's the end of the story. It's just
that doesn't make sense. That's weird. I didn't know that.
It's the same thing with hunting elephants too, right? I don't think you can't bring ivory back anymore, right?
It's the same thing that would have. It's the same thing that would, like, it's a violation of the Lacey Act, which is the same thing with hunting. So if you hunted and brought something across state lines illegally, you're violating a federal law, the Lacey Act.
Yeah, you know what I'd do with that Lacey Act? The same thing I would do if I found a dead narwhal on the beach in Canada.
Yeah.
I'd shove it right up and walk right across the border with it. You can tell me you find a narwhal spear, and you're not going to take it home because of some rule, dude? Are you out of your mind? You're going to leave that
there
thing
maybe in the next month. So I'm definitely, if anybody's watching, I'm definitely not doing anything I'm not supposed to. So
none of us do. We're all just joking around here, but like, come on, man. If I find a dead narwhal, bro, that freaking that little, what is that thing called? Does anybody know?
It's actually a tooth, I think. Isn't it a giant tooth?
That's what I've heard.
I have no idea. And it's to break open the ice to breathe, right? Or no?
Yeah, that's what I've been told. I haven't studied them that much yet, but I'm going. That's on my list to do later on at some point.
After falconry.
After falconry. I'm going to do a deep dive. Trust me. The other thing is, you were mentioning elephants. It's like with rhino horns. They won't let you bring rhino horns back. And I talked to a bunch of Africans when we went to these SEI shows, one in Texas and one in Nashville. And I met people, and I wrote about this, that have rhinos on their property. And I mean, the poachers will come in and they shoot these rhinos, and they'll still be alive, and they'll take chainsaws and cut the horn off while the rhino's suffering. It's a super sad thing to see happen. And the problem is that the Asians look at it as an aphrodisiac. And it's not just that, though. Like, people think that it's just an aphrodisiac. That's part of it. But it's more that because it's so expensive, what they'll do is they'll grind up rhino horn. And when they have like special guests over, they'll sprinkle it over their food, and they'll go, hey, this is how much that I care about you. It's a status symbol to say, listen, you're such a good friend. I'm willing to just put all this money across our food. And then they'll eat their meal. all it is a giant fingernail sticking out of the front of their head. It's the same thing as a fingernail, a rhino horn is. And so what they should do is there's people that I've talked to that have whole giant safes full of these rhino horns. And if they just would flood the market with these rhino horns, most of the problem would just go away. And the poachers wouldn't be as valuable if they just flooded the market. I think that they should flood the market and let rhino sales just happen. And it wouldn't be a problem, because the aphrodisiac line is kind of, as science kind of gets into the culture over there in Asia, like they start realizing like, oh, I'm just eating a big fingernail. That's not making me horny. That's not how that works. So now it's more of a status symbol, because it's cost so much money because they've put so many restrictions on it. So I think they should just unban the sale of rhino horn. And I think that rhinos would do much better around the world if they did that.
The way I see it, if you go to Africa and you pay 6 figures to shoot a bull elephant, and you draw legal permits from the country to do it, and then you want to fill out the export permits to bring it back to America, you should be able to do it. Yeah. I mean, it should be expensive. That makes sense to me, but come on. So you're legally allowed to go shoot an elephant, but you can't bring the tusks back.
Yeah, I understood it at one point. Some of these laws made sense a long time ago, but anymore, they don't make sense anymore. So yeah, but there's a lot of stuff like that. Our government moves very slowly, and they mostly suck at what they do. So
yeah. I want to ask one final question. What do you guys think the biggest threat to hunting in America is going forward? And I want each of you to answer it.
So for me, I think that the biggest threat to hunting moving forward is game agencies, actually. Game agencies, and not in the sense of like talking about game wardens even. It's these biologists that are not hunters that are studying these things that, like I said, the CWD problem is a big one. You could, and let me say that recruitment is a problem, but I think that moving forward, it's going to be less of a problem. That's kind of the popular answer. It's like, we need to get more people into hunting, which is absolutely true. I think that problem is going to be self-correcting with AI and technology. I think there's going to be more of a desire to go out into the wild and see real things again. So I think that problem will correct itself over time. I could be wrong. So from my opinion, it is game agencies trying to overregulate us and tell us how to manage wildlife when they're not actually interested in managing wildlife. They're interested in keeping us from hunting. And as I pointed out earlier, I think that's more on the biologist side, more than even the game, not necessarily the game agencies. Some of the people in the political elite, as I call them, the political hunters, those are the guys running at the very top of the game agencies, those guys. And a lot of these biologists, because they can make data say whatever they want. And I'm running into that all the time. And it's when you actually look into what's real, what's not real, and talk to real hunters on the ground and what they're experiencing. It's not just polar bears. Like, it's not just, falconry. It's every aspect of hunting is getting pushed back. And it starts at these liberal universities that are largely, even if their research is good, the policies that they push around that research are to restrict hunting almost every time, is what I'm seeing. And I think that's maybe it makes it harder for people to get into hunting when you put more restrictions around hunting. Just look at California. And the more that our different states turn into California and these game agencies, the harder it's going to be to get people into hunting. So I think that's the root cause of the problem. And that's a lot of what I'm writing about right now.
All right, Aaron.
I think it's not going to be one thing. It's going to be like a lot of different things. And if I had to pick one thing, I'm thinking access is going to be one thing. It's like there's so many people getting priced out of the market with leases, going up. There's not as much places for people to go, and also there's not people aren't small game hunting. That's how I got into hunting, was starting to hunting small game, and there's just not as much woodsmanship anymore. So I'm just thinking that there's just not as many young hunters as there used to be. It's like people are starting out like older and older to get out. And if you're not learning from your parents, or you're not learning from a mentor, it's like he didn't mention the recruiting is like, and I think that's going to be, you're not going to see as many young hunters entering the sport. So it's going to be a dying breed, and you're not going to be seeing people entering the sport until their 20s and 30s and maybe even older. And it's going to start to become more of I'm going to say a rich and middle class sport where hunting used to be more of a blue collar working man's type thing. And I think that's going to start to see the decline because we've seen more people move to the cities in the past few decades than we have. Like where hunting was in its heydays was where it really started was in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, where there's a lot of a rural population. You're seeing a lot of that becoming more urban when there's a lot of people that are seeing a disconnect from their food and their disconnect from the wild. We may see a lot of that move back with AI, but I don't know if they're going to be getting into hunting or they're just going to be hiking or they're just going to be going mountain climbing or doing other stuff. And there's a learning curve when it comes to hunting.
I could be wrong about that. It's just one of my theories.
Yeah, I don't know, but I just see that there's going to be some challenges, I think, in the next 20 or 30 years as, our generation, grows up. There may not be as much of another generation that follows us, and what about the generation that follows them? But who knows? It's, what are we passing on? I don't know. Seems like, half the generation before us is more interested in, screens than they are with, the outdoors.
And I agree with you. I think that starts with access because you may have the desire to go hunting, but a lot of people don't know where to go or have anywhere to go. Mm-hmm. So, well, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on. Stephen and Aaron, check out Rack Junkies on Facebook. Check out Sportsman's Party on Facebook. Guarantee when you click on those pages, about 20 of your friends are also going to follow those. And check out DeLong Lures, home of the original rubber worm lure.
That's so cool.
Awesome. All right, gentlemen. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thanks for having us on.